Good afternoon, you're watching us on Midcap Radar. True to its name, we are seeing the Midcaps fly away in trade right now. It's a good day, in fact. The Nifty is up almost 100 points. The Sensex up 330 points. The Nifty Bank up 200 points. Not a bad start to the week. In fact, a cracking one. I'm Manglam Malu. With me is Sonal Bhutra. Sonal, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Manglam. A cracking one at that, and a lot of stocks in the broader markets that are doing well. But let's do one thing. Let's talk about one stock that is doing well. Marico posted a largely inline set of Q1 earnings. Domestic volume growth has come in at 21%, but gross margins, they have dipped, hit by higher raw material prices. Saugata Gupta, the MD and CEO of Marico, joins us now. Mr. Gupta, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on CNBC TV 18. Well, Q1 saw disruption quarter on quarter and growth on a YY basis. Amidst all of this, what prognosis do you have for demand and revenue recovery going forward?
So if you start off with Q1, I think we started off well with keeping the momentum of the last quarter in April. In May, things obviously started slowing down. Having said that, I think because we are far better prepared in terms of supply chain and logistics and the entire distribution BCP, we managed to ensure that the product was available. And therefore, whatever the slowdown that was there in May, obviously because of a lot of localized lockdowns, we had an issue with a lot of modern trade outlets closed, limited working hours. June started recovering. We continue to see the recovery in July. Having said that, I think one of the things we have to be careful about is I believe that the pace of vaccination will be very, very critical to prevent a third surge and prevent any more disruptions. And the other interesting thing is, as you know, compared to last year, this year, South got impacted. South was one of our very strong markets. So therefore, it's very, very important that the recovery in the South continues to happen. So I believe now we have started lapping higher growth rates. And for the balance year, we'd be happy if you're going to deliver 8 to 10% volume growth.
All right, looking at 8 to 10% volume growth for the balance of this year, let's talk about gross margins then, Saugata. They are compressed both year on year and quarter on quarter. But is the worst behind? What's your outlook there?
So if you look at it, I think this Q1 was an unprecedented quarter in consumption terms. All the three, which is copra, other vegetable oils, and crude based, which is gets into liquid paraffin and all other packaging material, all three were at an all-time high in terms of, and all three were inflationary. So I think that had led to the contraction, and also the fact that while we kept on increasing prices, there's a limit in which you can start take prices. Fortunately, three things have happened. First, copra has started coming down. So I think while on an annualized basis, it will be flat to marginally inflationary, we see it range bound between now and the end of the year. Secondly, I think while there is extreme volatility continues in vegetable oils, I believe that sometime during the second half of the year, if not earlier, we will see a deflationary phase coming in. I think crude is also stabilized, so unless there is any other surprises. So I think from H2, where margins will start coming back, and well, if you look at it sequentially, there's been a significant improvement in margins, and therefore our ability to deliver 19% plus over the second half of the year, I think that should be possible.
Okay, so 19% plus margins in the second half of this year. Mr. Gupta, take us through the growth path for coconut oil. It's a highly penetrated market with competition coming in from Bajaj Consumer now. What's a sustainable growth rate there?
So I think we have faced competition before, and I think, as I said, that we have a significant strong brand equity. We ensure that we have a pricing that doesn't allow disruption to happen. We have a strong distribution. We have a strong supply chain which gives us cost advantages. And obviously there is enough opportunity for us to grow in the medium term, 5 to 7% independent of competition.
All right, so that's 5 to 7%. Let's talk about the business that has everyone excited. You have tall targets for the food business. 350 crores is what you did in the last year, 500 crores for this year, 800 crores also out there in the next couple of years. The important question then, what will the contribution to margins be from that vertical? And at scale, how is it likely to play?
See, firstly, I think while food makes lower gross margins, the A&P in food is lower compared to personal care. And with scale, I think food will, so for example, our oats business, which continues to grow handsomely, did break even last year. So we believe, I think food we have to chase scale, we can't do niche. And there is opportunity in terms of honey, soya nuggets and oodles, all to reach 100 crores within within a 2 to 3 year period since launch. And therefore, I believe that with economies of scale, food will come. At the same time, I think you are right that we need to also have personal care business, new business and personal care, and that is why the focus on premiumization of our hair nourishment, as well as driving some of the digital brands which are obviously far more higher margin. And we need to balance that. While food will give you significantly higher scale, diversification into D2C brands, as well as premiumization of our hair oil, where hair nourishment, where we have a value share gap versus volume share, that will deliver you the margins, and therefore that will ensure that the overall future blended margins of the organization stays constant.
So let's take it a little forward. What will your revenue picture look like, say, in 3 to 4 years from now, with all the pivots that have been made by you all in, say, D2C, there's foods, and now youth portfolio as well?
So I think it will be very difficult to get into specifics, but obviously I believe that the new engines of growth, whether it's food or whether it's premium hair nourishment or D2C brands, will certainly their contribution should increase anything between 10 to 15% over the next 4 to 5 years. Yes, margin will creep up, but at the end of the day, I think as an organization, we believe in driving volume growth. We focus on driving volume growth. We believe margins automatically come with scale, but certainly it will be a far more diversified portfolio 4 to 5 years from now, with a very, very significantly scaled up food business, far bigger participation in the premiumization of hair oils, much more scaled up things like male grooming serums, and of course critical mass in D2C. So that's the kind of a picture. Having said that, we need to continue to grow into the core, continue to grow into bottom of pyramid, and our distribution expansion in rural will continue over the next 3-4 years.
Take that point, Saugata. In fact, 5 years ago, you did give us a picture of what your revenue would look like, and it is very close to where it is right now. And now with digital coming in, that would change the picture in the next few years. But, that exactly is the big question. You have products like honey, you have Immuniveda, Just Herbs, Beardo, edible oil. What is the strategic rationale for such wide diversification? Do you run the risk of spreading yourself too thin?
So, if you look at it, I think the core consists of, coconut oil, our value-added hair oil, and Saffola edible oil. I think the entire premiumization, the pillars of premiumization are clearly male grooming, the D2C brands, and foods. Now in food, again, we are being extremely specific. We believe that there is a huge opportunity to increase the total addressable market of Saffola. For Saffola is being a brand whose actually saliency, a share of mind is far higher than the size of the brand, because it was restricted to only edible oil. I think Saffola can enter only into things which are better for you, which encourages people to eat right and drives immunity. We are not entering any other category in food. Similarly, in D2C, the D2C business is managed completely separately. We have created a separate organization which is independent of our core Marico, so that we can introduce different processes, much more higher velocity of innovation, far better way of working entrepreneurially. So actually, if you see, there's not much diversification. We continue to remain focused. While there are different categories, each of the categories in food actually caters to a significant same share of consumers and the same kind of channels.
So, Mr. Gupta, does it mean at some point you will look at unlocking value in the D2C brands by listing them separately, or in fact selling them as well?
I think right now, as I said, it's too premature to think that way. But what we are clearly doing is ensuring that the B2C organization runs entrepreneurial independent of Marico in terms of processes, systems, the kind of people. So I think that's the way we operate. And I think our entire focus is to building to last and not building to sell.
All right, fair point. Take that point, Saugata. In fact, thank you so much for joining in and giving us an important insight into the future of Marico. Of course, qualitatively, you've spoken a lot. Quantitatively, a lot of it is already there in your release. So, good to know that you are chasing 19% margins and 8 to 10% volumes for the remainder of this year. The stock currently at the low point of trade, but remember, it has seen a big rally. With that, we'll slip into a short break, come back on the